Good morning, evening, afternoon, or whenever you might be listening to this. Welcome back to Nerding Out. My name is Evan.
I'm Nathanael.
And then we got our good friend Matt back here with us. Say hi, Matt.
Hey, I'm Matt.
Yeah, because I said that already. So he's joining us back again. We're going to have some fun, and yeah, let's dive right into it. You got the news for us, Nathanael?
Yeah, I got our weekly news. So, first off, Mission Impossible Fallout is out in theaters. It has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Currently, yes.
Yeah, because I've seen it go up and down a little bit. I saw 3 different ads with 3 different numbers from Rotten Tomatoes.
I heard 94%.
Yeah, and the audience...
Oh, wow, that's a new number. I didn't hear that.
The audience approval is around 95%. So
oh, really?
People really like it.
That is surprising to me.
The first time I saw that trailer, I literally just fell back in my seat. It was just like, no! Because what? This is his 5th Mission Impossible movie. He's like 10 years overdue doing this. Like, he shouldn't... He doesn't need to be doing this
That was
anymore.
my first thought when I heard about Fallout coming out. I was like, there's no way this is going to be any good at all. And so, yeah, seeing these high ratings, I am kind of surprised.
I'm intrigued to see it because I got to see that Henry Cavill mustache. I got to see what the Justice League was all hoopla about.
Well, I mean, but then again, Rotten Tomatoes isn't necessarily an indicator of quality necessarily, because Teen Titans Go is also out and has an 89%. So it's just 8% difference.
So it dropped.
It did drop.
It was 100% when
oh my god!
To the 10 pre-screenings to critics and everything. It was at 100%.
Wow!
It was at 100%. But since it's come out, it's dropped. It dropped
for a
it is
for a movie that.
Well, I haven't watched
the show it's based off of gave me cancer. Now,
right.
I'm so sorry. How long do you have?
Until they come out with the season 6 that they promised at the end.
So it's going to be a while.
That my cancer will go away. Do you remember the original Teen Titans show that was on Cartoon Network?
Yeah, never watched it, but I rember it.
You recall, yeah. So yeah. And it ended on the movie. It ended on the movie that came out after the 5th season, and it subsequently got canceled or discontinued. It didn't get picked up again. And then a few years go by, and then this turd comes out. This is called Teen Titans Go, which is
like a parody of the show.
It was that's what it was. It wasn't basically. That's exactly what it was. It was just a parody of the show. And it was very poorly received at first. It kind of grew a cult following because it does have, I guess, funny moments. I've only watched a little bit of it, and I hated it. But so I kind of have a bias towards it already. But then I heard it was getting a movie, and I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. And then they said, when it came out, they said, like, okay, so if this does well, then we'll give you a Teen Titans Season 6. I'm like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's really unfair to the people who wanted that. And it's funny because even in the show, they made fun of how bad they were, and they referenced
they're always jabbing at themselves that they're not the show, and it has like the same voice actors and everything.
Yeah, all the same voice actors from the original show are in it.
So it's just like it's like a huge reminder that it didn't get picked up, and we have this instead.
There's a villain that kind of breaks the fourth wall, and he said, like, if you guys don't get better, I'll reboot you. It's like, you can't reboot us. I already did. You're the reboot. And it's like, wait, what? And then it showed them clips from the original show. And they were all geeking out over it. Like, the characters themselves were like, oh, that looks so cool. And it's like, yeah, it was great. But then, something happened, and then now we're stuck with you guys. And it's just like, no. They're like, no, give us back that old thing. And it's just like, but then they never went back to it. It just I was just like... So just acknowledging the fact that you suck does not excuse the fact that you suck.
It feels like almost like the people who are working on the show are almost like hostage, and they're like, what can we do now that we only have this? But so apparently Slade...
Why did I sign that contract?
I needed money. I have a family. But apparently Slade is in this movie, and they make a joke about him being Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Or like,
yeah, I know. That's like, oh, I've seen that clip so many times.
It's
like, wait, Deadpool? It's like, wait,
he's like, I was before Deadpool.
I was out way before Deadpool. It's like, nah, I'm pretty sure you're Deadpool.
Apparently, from what I've read, the movie has different writers than the show.
Huh.
Like completely different writers.
Weird.
Oh, so they didn't... So
I don't know.
It's not all poop. Then.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. But anyway, that is another movie that is out.
Unfortunately.
Also, Iron Fist Season 2 got a release date, September 7th.
For Netflix, right?
Yes. Everybody hates the first season.
Really?
Like, almost everybody unanimously thinks it's a bad show.
Wow.
I saw the first 3 episodes when it launched like a year or 2 ago, and I was bored.
Huh.
I never finished it. But, yeah, that's coming September 7th. And then a
I
new...
would say the Meg comes out August 10th, which, I'm excited for. And actually, my younger sister is excited to see it. And she wants to be on the podcast to talk about it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I was like, do you want to come on to talk about it? She's like, yes. I'm like, all right. I'll slate you in. And we're doing that. And,
I'll slate you in.
That'll be fun.
I'll slate you in. I'll Deadpool you in. That doesn't roll off the tongue. And now I see why
that sounds like a threat.
Yeah.
Deadpool you in.
Yeah. But,
yeah. Okay. So, like you're dead and you pull them in. But anyway, and then last piece of news, Castle Rock. Have you guys heard of that?
Heard of it.
It is a new, I think it's like a horror thriller show. It's basically a Stephen King inspired show. I think Stephen King worked on it. I don't know if it's based off one of his books, but it has yes.
Yes.
It has
yes, go on.
It has what's the guy the name who played the clown It? Bill
Skarsgård.
He's one of the main characters
of
the show.
Yeah.
So I've watched the first episode and a half. Good job, Evan.
Thank you.
I watched the first episode and a half. It's really good. It's like
Bill Skarsgård is a great actor, so I'm sure if he's in it, then
super creepy.
Amplify its goodness.
Yeah, it's just interesting. He's doing another Stephen King thing, so I guess it's just like being kind of related.
He's a big fan.
Maybe so.
Like the way Johnny Depp is in a bunch of like Hunter S. Thompson movies,
or maybe Bill is like one of his love children. I don't know.
Or like how Johnny Depp was how every Spielberg movie.
Yeah, basically did some sort of thing going on.
Who was always in a relationship with Spielberg's wife? Like that was always a thing.
Spielberg or Tim Burton?
Oh, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. That's
Burton.
it.
Tim Burton.
Yeah, not Spielberg.
Tim Burton. Yeah, every Tim Burton movie where Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp was in it. He was always like married or in a relationship with Tim Burton's wife.
It's just
weird.
like
that's bizarre.
Always. It's like I don't know. It's weird.
Anyway, so what have we been watching? That's very weird.
Take what you want out of that.
Yeah.
So, what have you guys been into in the entertainment world? Games, movies, TV shows? Matt?
So I have been. I recently got Assassin's Creed Origins. However, I have not yet finished Syndicate. I'm very close, so I've been trying to finish up Syndicate.
What do you think of Syndicate?
I really like it.
Yeah,
I love Syndicate. Actually,
the steampunk aspect of it. Yeah,
it's kind of cool because
way to take a. Get ready to take a huge back step when you play Origins and go all the way back to chariots and
right, exactly, yeah,
and no trains or anything.
From the edge of the modern world into like what is it? It's around the time of Christ, right? It's like 50 AD or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's like I can't remember if it's I can't remember if it's 80 or BC. Yeah. I can't remember.
I believe it's 80.
So
it's 80.
But one thing I love about the franchise is how they go to different times and cultures because I love history. You guys know that we talked about that last time I was on.
Oh yeah,
we talked about
the one game you were playing.
Yeah. Kingdom Come. But so I love it. I think it's cool that it's like it's touching the edge of the modern world, but not quite there. Because it's like the Industrial Revolution's in full swing, but you still got not chariots, but like carriages all over the streets and stuff.
Modern
no
chariots.
Cars, modern chariots. Well,
modernized chariots.
Yeah, but you do not yet have the horseless carriage and whatnot. But I'm really enjoying it.
But the steampunk era is starting to come along with the trains and some of the some of the other things. Yeah.
But I think a cool next step could have been around the time of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia.
That would have been
cool. A cool next
step. I still think a game or an Assassin's Creed game taking place during the time of World War II, I think would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I think that would
you
be
do
cool.
get a little taste of World War I in Syndicate.
That's true.
And so it's not a huge logical leap to go to World War II.
And you do get a little glimpse of World War II and Unity as well.
That's true. Yeah.
The times of like going in between the time rifts or whatever.
And you get a little bit of the Belle Epoque in Paris. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think. Yeah. So. Anyway, like this is an Assassin's Creed podcast. We're not going to.
Right.
But yeah, Nathaniel, what about you? What have you been? Doing?
So I just finished watching Master of None season 2 with my roommate.
Oh, yeah.
That's Aziz Ansari's show.
And I remember watching that with you guys, or like kind of coming in like during the middle of you guys watching it. It's a fun show,
and it's heartbreaking too.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah. So it kind of shows his range as like an actor / like director,
because it's comedy, but it's also drama. It's just like there's a huge range of. Mostly, I think it's social commentary more than anything else,
right?
And that's where a lot of the humor comes from because it like talks about very real situations and like anyway, biggest cliffhanger ever. Like I mean ever. It just completely leaves everything unresolved.
Wow.
And it just like it just cuts off.
I hate that.
It just completely cuts off.
I hate those cliffhangers. Those are the
So
worst.
apparently it's been a year and a half since it came out, and Aziz said he doesn't know if he's going to make a third season
Wow. What?
because he hasn't like experienced enough in his life to like make another season yet,
Oh.
and he doesn't know if he could like. Anyway, I'm just like, are you kidding me? You don't leave this unresolved and just maybe give us another season, but.
I mean,
It was really good.
I mean, at that point, just come out with like a Netflix movie or something.
I know. Just
Yeah.
do something.
Concluding it,
You don't have to do necessarily an entire season. You can wrap it up with a movie.
I mean, one of the it's weird because
With a Netflix only movie, not having it come out in theaters.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, for you to understand this, you go back and watch a Netflix series.
yeah,
That would be annoying.
that would suck.
yeah, it was interesting because on Master of None, most episodes are around 30 minutes. The 9th episode out of the 10 episodes was an hour, just randomly an hour. So
That's weird.
yeah, I mean they could do a movie or something. I guess it wouldn't be like outside of their thing. Evan, you've been
I've been so I know Matt, you're not super into anime, but I've been watching this show called My Hero Academia. And it is a very good show, and if you're someone who isn't into anime but is curious about it, that would be a good like jump in anime because it's a very, it's action packed. It's aesthetically it's really beautiful to look at. And also it tells a really good story with the characters that it has. So basically in this world, about 80% of the population has a superpower or a quirk. That's what they call them. And you follow this character that was born without a quirk and his path on gaining a quirk and then trying to become like the number one hero. And heroes in the society are relegated by the government and they're paid and they sign on to companies and stuff like that sponsor them, and then there's a ranking system. So it takes like a real good look at like a hero society, like and how realistically it would be handled, like government involvement, and just like there's like the fashion industry, then there's just like the fandom and all that stuff, and just media attention. But then it also at the same time takes like a real personal look behind all these characters and all these potential heroes, and you're following like high school kids, and there's a high school that trains them to be heroes while also them just going to school and stuff. So you get to see behind the scenes look at like all these characters and how they grow, and it's a very human look at like this superhero society where everyone has most people have at least one type of power, whether it's mundane or something that like there's some that like turns your head into a cactus and that's like all it does. But other people have like super strength or speed, or they can like make things from like the fat lipids in their body. It gets really deep with like how their powers work, and then there's always like a backdraw to their power, so there's always like a weakness and things that they have to improve on. So it's a very good show.
yes.
And
Evan
it's
likes the show very much, and so do I. It's great.
How many seasons are there?
It's on its third season right now. There's 2 full seasons already complete. So I think if you go on Verve, you can just watch them for free. You don't have to sign up for.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, on too. So it's very good. So I recommend, like, even if you just watch like some of the first season, it's still really good. And yeah. So.
Speaking of anime, Attack on Titan season 3 just premiered last Sunday.
Yes, it did.
Mm-hmm. So they're gonna release an episode like every Sunday. It's not like Netflix where it's all at once, but check that out. It's great.
I watched it. So good.
You haven't, or you have?
I know I have.
Ooh, I know. Okay.
All right. I'm not gonna say anything because have you seen it yet?
I saw it.
You saw it?
A little constipated there.
I mean, it's
Constipated with joy.
I mean, something else in my pants is happening, but that's beside the point. Anyway, now moving on.
You think I'm gonna walk out?
Actually, not interesting. I don't want to hear about that.
Interesting.
It's like you said. Oh, you're interested. Well,
well, no.
moving on.
Does my disinterest counter that? Okay, so main topic. Main topic. So, Final Space Season 1.
Woo!
First, we're going to go into like a non-spoiler, quick overview of the show.
Just our opinions.
Just our opinions, and like we're going to give it a score, and then we're going to do a deep dive with all the spoilers.
All the spoilers and a lot of the spoilery details that made us want to cry. All right.
That's as spoilery as it's going to get in this non-spoiler segment. So,
yeah.
Evan, you want to start us off?
Sure. Man, in a 10-episode series, wow. It exceeded my expectations. I give it, like, just a grade right out of the bat, like, I give it, like, a 9 out of 10. Because there were times where I felt like the pacing was a little fast.
Mm-hmm.
But of course it had to be because it was so short. But I think if they wanted to, like for the second season, I don't know if it's confirmed that they're going to have 10 episodes for the second season or if they're going to have more.
I'm not sure.
But I think it'd be a good idea to have more episodes for the second season because I feel like this was more like a pilot season to see how well it would be received. But I think now that it was so well received, maybe they'll have more episodes and they'll have more time to explore different character developments and stuff. But even with that being said, I think that I was really impressed with just the characters and how they interacted with each other, and aesthetically, the animation style and quality was really good. And man, I was blown away with like the creative mind of Olin Rogers, and because this was a lot different than like what we're used to seeing from him, like from his YouTube channel and things like that. And he really kind of showed in his more creative side, and I was blown away, and I forgot that this was an Olin Rogers thing. But then there's other things that people would say or do that reminded me, yes, this is an Olin Rogers thing. So I loved it. I thought it was amazing. So.
Yeah, Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a lot of the same feelings of Evan. I would also give it a 9 out of 10 starting out. I thought as far as the way the story was developed and they gave you new information or backstory or whatever, I thought the progression of that was pretty good, so that they would do something, along those lines in each episode, basically, but not like too much or too little. And it was, in terms of comedy, it was very entertaining. It was hilarious. There were a lot of little one-liners or things that you don't necessarily pick up on the first time, and so the re-watching value is really high to me. Like, I would buy this show and like rewatch it multiple times.
I did buy the show, and I rewatched it one time, so
there you go.
You're on your way.
What about you, Nathanael?
Yeah, before we while we were like getting to this part of the podcast, I was thinking what score, and I was like 90 out of 100, so 9 out of 10. Yeah. So we all got the same score for it, apparently.
Yeah.
I thought, similar to Evan, I love the show, but I thought some of the pacing was a little bit fast, but just because it was only 10 episodes, and they're each like only 20 minutes. So I'm actually shocked with how well and how much the show is able to put into like 3 hours or so that it is. I think that the material that was in this season could have easily been in a 20 episode season.
Oh yeah.
And they could have stretched it out and developed it, but they were still able to put it into 10 episodes and make it work.
Yeah.
So props to the writers and the team and the animators for making it such a compact show that was still very emotionally gripping and hilarious.
And I thought as soon as every episode ended, I'd be like, oh wow, that's over already? Well, what happens next with this guy and with this thing?
Yeah, I know.
And I always wanted to watch the next episode immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So
did a really good job with setting up character arcs and development, stuff like that with each episode. So like you said, by the end of each episode you were like, oh, what's going to happen between these two characters, or what's going to happen with this guy and his thing about this. And yeah, I think the fact that it did this all in just 10 episodes made me blew my mind.
Yeah, because I think this show did in 10 episodes what some shows fail to do in 5 seasons of 24 1-hour episodes.
That is so true.
Yeah, it failed to do what Justice League did in just 2.5 hours or whatever.
That's another story. You can check out our podcast on Justice League for that, but not our podcast, our episode. We would not have a whole podcast for. Anyway,
We'll have a whole separate podcast for Justice League. That would be a waste of time.
No, it'd be.
Anyway, that's the second
So now it's time for a spoiler review. We're gonna go into spoilers, details about the show. So if you don't want to hear that and you want to go into the show fresh,
let's get ready for spoilers.
So, Matt.
Yeah.
In your words, giving a couple sentence synopsis, how would you describe this show of Final Space?
if it's not an Nolan Rogers quote, I will hate you forever.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have to be an Nolan Rogers quote. Don't let Nathanael bully you.
Well, so it's about a lovable but misguided man named Gary, and he's on prison for basically blowing up an entire fleet and a family-owned taco shop, if I remember correctly.
A Mexican family-owned
A Mexican family-owned taco shop.
That wasn't very good.
And
That, according to Gary, wasn't that good anyway.
Exactly. And so he's in prison for it, but in the course of his destroying this fleet in this Mexican family-owned taco shop, he falls for a woman named Quinn, who he is obsessed with during his entire 5-year sentence on board the ship, and he's like recording videos for her.
Obsessed is a good word for it.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know how you do that for 5 years, but he was very into her.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Was it really 5 years?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he kept adding to his sentence, too.
Right,
by doing
because he
stupid
kept
things.
touching cookies. But, yeah, somebody else take it from there. I'm kind of, my thoughts aren't collecting.
He gets close to the end of his sentence when, all of a sudden, his ship is attacked by bounty hunters because there's this little lovable ball called... Chocolatey? No, it's not called Chocolatey, but he's then named Mooncake, and apparently this thing is a giant. It is a small little planet destroyer, which is completely juxtaposed to his adorable squishy demeanor.
It just looks like a plush toy.
And his little voice just
Murder
goes
machine.
Chocolatey.
And when you poke him, he goes.
Yeah.
He also squeaks, yeah.
Yeah, he also squeaks. And
So yeah, it's like really silly when it starts out. And
but it continues on, and there's the Lord Commander, which is the main antagonist for this entire series, and he has these psychic powers that you don't really know where they come from, and he uses those set powers to rip off Gary's arm, so then he has to get a robotic arm. That's fun.
it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, but there's these characters that he meets along the way, where he meets Avocado, which is like a bounty hunter for the Lord Commander turned good, because he has the Lord Commander has Avocado's son, Little Cato, which is such an original name.
Yes.
For, like that'd be
so
like
funny.
me having a son and naming him Little Vin.
This is my I'm Evan, and this is my son Lilin.
Yeah,
Little Vin.
Little Vin.
You know, no
Little
big deal.
Matt.
It's not like I'm pretentious
Little
or
Matt.
anything.
Yeah, little
Matt.
and little
Daniel?
little Nathaniel.
Little
Annual.
Little Annual.
Little Annual. Sheesh. Please don't name your son that.
No,
Anyway,
I will not. I won't do that. Don't worry.
but I don't know. Little Vin actually sounds more like I'm
Little
not
Vin-
going to entertain that. I'm not entertaining that anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then they like we said before, they did a really good job with developing these characters' relationships, and
Yeah. So what do we say are some of the highlights of the show? Like that seems to be one of them. Character relationships.
Character relationships. Yeah, for me, it's just the things that remind you that you're watching an Nolan Rogers production.
Yeah.
And just the dialogue, and just the funny things that he says, and just how, and it's just awesome how he references his own show all the time, and just his own YouTube channel, and makes a lot of jokes, and like the clasp of friends,
Clasp of friends.
and
Oh my crap!
oh my double crap, and yeah, and it's just those little things that remind me, I'm watching a Nolan Rogers production, and I love that so much. Ooh, sorry. And I was going to say, if I had to pick a specific moment, I think... Yeah, so we're all a little gassy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I was going to say, both of
you know.
us, not Nathaniel, apparently, or whatever. But, man, if I had to pick a specific moment, I think it would have to be the I think the moments in the beginning of each episode, because
Yes.
I remember sitting there with Nathanael. You had left, and I remember like leaning over to Nathanael and was like, "It's like this is like everything that we see after this is like a flashback technically, because they're going to reveal at the end that this is how he ends up, right? So how does he end up at this point?" And it was interesting because it did such a good job with like, it kind of reminded me of Gravity with Sandra Bullock, and just like the person being alone in the vacuum of space, just floating there, and it's this dude and an AI, and just the communication between the two.
But they keep it lighthearted.
Yeah, they keep it lighthearted.
But also like kind of tense or
and then every episode that passes, every single episode starts that way, and it gets like progressively darker and more hopeless.
Yeah.
Till the very end, he's just like, he doesn't care about anything.
Yeah, like literally to the very end, like the beginning, he making jokes. He's like, "Hey, there's Carl. Carl is dead. Typical Carl.
Typical Carl.
And
Classic Carl.
Classic Carl.
Classic Carl." And then to where like he's trying to eat a cookie, and it's like, what if I open my helmet and then lob it in there and then close it real quick? Gary, you won't have time to lob it in. There will be no lobbing. You will be dead instantaneously. It's like, I'm pretty sure I could do it.
2 minutes until your oxygen runs out. Oh, can you make it something happier, Hugh? Like cookies. 2 minutes until the cookies are done, Gary.
Oh,
the cookies will be done.
Well, what kind of cookies are there? And it's like butter, wheat. You know those aren't cookies. but yeah, even when you got down to the 2 minute countdown, it was still lighthearted and making you laugh. And I think that they did a really good job with like staying true to the characters throughout. They established that this is how this guy is. He's not going to deviate from that the entire time, and that's who he is, and that's how he's going to make decisions on things. So I think that part, the beginning part before the show even started, I think was good, because then it showed real progression, like through each part. So that's what I liked.
Awesome. How about you, Matt? Any highlights?
Well, one of the first thing that comes to mind is just the they do some of the things that you would expect to have there's some things in a sci-fi show that you expect to have, right? You expect to have, technology and like
aliens.
some sort of aliens, multiple species, all these things, and they do a lot of these things. But then there are some very sci-fi things, some sort of things that just don't fit, but it's hilarious. For example, the names. Everybody has a very normal name, like Gary or
what was it like? Was there like a Mike or something?
There was an
Kevin.
Eric. There's Kevin.
Eric.
I hate Kevin.
the AI is named Hugh. Things like that.
I was like Quinn. And later Lord Commander's name is revealed as like Jack.
Jack. Yeah.
And his dad was John.
Jack.
And his dad's name was John.
Yeah.
John Goodspeed. Yeah.
And then you have like there's one character named Stevel.
Oh yeah, one of the helpers. And it's like I don't know if I like that. He's got evil in his name.
But it's clearly supposed to be like Steve,
Yeah, but later he's just like, he lived up to the evil in Stevel.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so things like that just kind of throw you for a loop. Or when they meet the Titan, right? They go into the other, final space or whatever, and they meet the Titan, and the sort of guardian or the protector is like this glowing. He looks
Fireball.
like a blue gobstopper that's on fire,
Oh,
and he's like, "I don't need any sass from you guys." And so these things
Are you sassing
that
me?
just don't quite fit, but it's hilarious.
The
that they
attitude
don't
doesn't
fit,
match like
the situation.
It's like you're meeting this like supernatural,
like almost like
awe-inspiring being, and he's just like don't give me any sass, things like that.
It's
that
very
keep me highly entertained.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of stuff like you said that doesn't fit, but it just. I think that's the one thing that hits me so hard is just like, I'm watching the sci-fi show?
Yeah.
No, I'm watching a great show. I don't know what exactly it is.
Yeah.
It's definitely
what's awesome is
like
that,
wrapped up in a sci-fi wrapper, but
I think what's awesome is that it does a really good job with not being married to the idea of it being a sci-fi show, and it's not relying on the fact that it's a sci-fi comedy to tell the story. It's like, no, we are a show. We're telling a story that just so happens to be taking place during or like in the middle of this this time period with all this technology stuff. That's how they play it, and it works really well. Yeah. And I really appreciate that.
And
they very well could have just said, you know what? No, let's throw in a bunch of techno babble and stuff to remind people that we're in a space show. But it still does a really good job of just telling the story with a bunch of stuff in the background.
Yeah, and they don't rely on constant tropes all the time. And if they are like tropes, they're spiced up a bit by the either witty dialogue or just like the names of characters or whatever.
Yeah. Like avocado.
Avocado, yeah, which I'm pretty sure is not even spelled
which
like
is
avocado.
Spelled like avocado.
Avocado. Oh my gosh,
which is great because he's basically a big cat.
Yeah, but he does say at one point he's not actually a cat, but he's some other
he's
type of
Ventrexian.
There you go. And
I'm not a cat. I'm Ventrexian.
And
it's like, no, you're a cat.
He's like, yeah, exactly. Just like, no, you're a cat.
No, you're a cat. So, do we have a specific moment that maybe jerked at our tear ducts a little bit?
Yeah.
Are there any specific moments that
when you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some fluids pour out of my eye sockets at one point, and it was I think for a lot of people it was Avocado's death. It was just sudden.
Yeah, I almost cried when I saw it. I was just like,
no, he's gonna come back, right? Like there's some sci-fi
just like,
thing
no, he's
to bring him
like
back?
blood everywhere and he's falling into space. So he's gone.
I remember watching that with Nathanael, and then as he was falling at first, I was like, wow, he's surprisingly intact. And then it got closer, and then you saw like mangled and blood everywhere. I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
he's dead. But yeah, I think when I started seeing Gary and Little Cato's, don't cry, Evan. When I saw his in Gary and Little Cato's reaction. We don't have David here, so we need to keep up his spirit. He's with us in spirit. So yeah, just seeing Little Cato be like going all out in revenge and just it completely turning him almost into just a bloodlust character.
Yeah, that's true.
Just seeing it affect the other characters. And not having it just be one of those deaths in a show that just happens and it just whatever.
And
people grieve for like...
Yeah, and it doesn't affect anything, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes shows will have a death just for shock impact, and then the person's like, well, I was sad for 1 minute, and now I completely forgot what happened.
But yeah, they basically spent a whole episode like going through that grieving process together.
Yeah, and it actually lasts till the end of the show, too. Like, it impacts the characters. Like
Little Cato is completely changed by that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it also affects like their dynamic too. Like you see like there's the one episode after that where it's really them kind of going through the grieving process, and you see Little Cato trying to have that get that revenge to kind of like fill that hole. But then by the end of the episode, he realizes that that's not right, and then near the end, you see them kind of develop this family dynamic where you're like, you know what, like we're all we got and we're all we need, kind of thing, and they kind of develop that trust, and you see them really kind of grow as a family, and I think that was really sweet to see.
And then the show tears them all apart.
I mean, and quite literally, like it ends on a very like weird way that I wasn't expecting it to, which kind of makes me think, okay, of course they're making a season 2 because there's no way
they are officially.
But... Yeah, I was gonna say they started recording dialogue for it like a week ago or something, so. It's already in production. We don't know a release date or when it's going to come out, but it'll probably be next year, hopefully.
Yeah.
Or near like the end of next year, hopefully. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. But yeah, it.
So I did see online that they started the writing in January of this year.
Well, I saw a tweet from Mr. Olin Rogers where he tweeted a picture of him in a recording booth.
Right.
So,
but I know that they officially started writing the episodes in January, but I think they're done now. So.
Yeah, they're probably done and probably working on recording dialogue now.
How about you, Matt? What point in the show was very feels bussy for you? I don't know how to feels trained. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which part of the show stuck a twisty straw in your feelings, porridge?
Yeah, that's the one I understand the most. Well,
I remember saying that and when I was watching it, and Nathanael was like, did you just make that up? I'm like, no, that's an Olin Rogers quote. And he's like, oh, that's right.
It was so good.
It was a twisty straw, right to my feelings, porridge.
Yeah. For me, I think one thing is like the reveal of the older Quinn and how into Gary she is, And I was like, okay, so some things are going to happen.
Some things are going to happen.
To make Quinn change her mind about Gary. and in a very extreme way. And it was kind of
To
like
the point where it seems like in the future they were married, maybe at some point, or had some sort of intimate
so there's
relationship.
some very long term, like deep thing going on there, and but in the present time, Quinn is like can't fathom.
No, she can't fathom the idea of even being friends with him.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like kind of cool to see like, I wonder how they're gonna like work all this together.
Yeah,
and we saw a little bit of that in season 1.
In the beginning, she was just like, cute dude. Definitely issues.
Yeah, he's cute, but he's got problems.
Right, and he did.
He had a lot of problems, but I mean, honestly, if you were on a ship in solitary confinement with a bunch of robots and
your insanity companion
and Kevin
and cookies that you can eat,
just there to taunt you, blatantly to taunt you.
I think anyone will kind of lose their mind a little bit.
Yeah.
So I can't really blame Gary.
Right.
I can't really blame Carrie for for going a little crazy, but yeah, I loved in the. Okay, this is more. I'm more gonna be just kind of gushing about just how much I love Olin and all of his references, but I loved when he saw Quinn for the first time and she didn't remember him. He's going down the hallway, basically just doing Footloose.
Yes.
It's like, oh, she doesn't remember, and he's like, dude, basically Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
And he's just going down the hallway. I was dying. I thought that was hilarious.
Spicy lady.
Very spicy mamacita.
Oh my gosh! So Gary's
Gary is basically Olin in the show. That's
Yeah.
basically who he is in the show.
I think so.
What's awesome is Olin voices other minor characters in the show as well. He also voices
Triborg.
Triborg.
Why did they give me a seltzer? Did I order a seltzer? Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's like, is it time to rebel? Yes, it is. So he voices a lot of different characters. There's a lot of beheading in this. There's a lot of decapitation.
And a lot of gore, which was surprising to me.
There's a lot of a lot more gore than I think I was expecting. But
I think it's just because I'm so used to Owen's lighthearted humor,
right?
And even though it does have dark stuff in it, visually, typically
it's just
it doesn't have that.
Occasionally, it's just there's blood bubbling. Why is the blood bubbling?
There's impalement. There's decapitation.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a lot more
spontaneous.
There's getting sucked through a tiny hole.
Yeah.
That guy just.
He just got sucked up into the butthole.
He's got sucked into that butthole, dude. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that really kind of surprised me, and I was just oh wow, they really went out of the box on this one, and I wasn't expecting that, but. With a lot of the skits, he does kind of get there's dismemberment and stuff like that too.
Stabbing a guy who's immobile with a harpoon.
Yeah,
right.
So he has gotten violent, somewhat violent in a lot of his videos, but it hasn't been as gory. And I think the fact that he has animation, he has more freedom to be.
That's true.
To be as gory.
And it's I think a big part that makes it shocking is just that the animation style is so simple in some places.
Yes,
it's just it's just very juxtaposed.
It seems like you're almost sometimes you kind of forget that you're watching a show that's kind of meant for kind of teenagers and above.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it'll you think you're kind of watching a kid's show, and all of a sudden an alien who's waving high just gets his head ripped off.
Right.
That I think we all were watching that. We're all just oh, cool.
Oh wow,
Right.
he ripped his spine out. That's great.
Cool.
And then I think you see that character later holding a dude's head with a spine.
Two dudes.
Holding two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just some barbarian guy who you never see again.
Yeah.
Never see him again.
Right.
He just shows up on that planet.
He shows up to rip people's head out and wave them around.
Right.
But that's it's charming, I guess.
It's charming in a way. But oh man, I wish I had a pet mooncake. Can I have a pet mooncake, please?
Just be careful because he might destroy your enemies.
Yeah. That was an interesting plot layer that they kind of added was that Quinn that came back in time to save everyone. She mentioned that she had come back multiple times,
right?
Because she had tried different ways to change the past, but the the last possible option she had left was to kill Mooncake. Because he was the ultimate threat. Because when Gary dies, that triggers Mooncake,
and he just destroys everything.
And destroys everything. So
that was another really emotional, touching thing.
Yeah, And it made me kind of go like, wow, like they're like the Mooncake Gary relationship is really strong, and it's just like it's really sad to think about like Mooncake might be a thing that lives forever. So like Gary dying at some point will something that he'll have to that will happen. So it's weird to think that, you know, if Gary does die just from a long, you know, after a long life, after, you know, and just dies to old age, would Mooncake still lose it, or would he have had time to like adjust to the idea that, okay, no, he is going to die someday, kind of thing. I'm wondering if it's just because he got killed by someone, then he got triggered. So that kind of got me thinking about that kind of stuff and like long term. So even if you did fix it to where Gary didn't die, would him dying even at old age at some point still bring the end of the world?
Possibly.
Yeah. So I guess like moving forward, like what do you think? How far do you think season 2 is going to go? Like,
I think they should add 2 more episodes. No, to go to 12 episodes now. I think what they're gonna do is, since time travel and like the different dimension thing is a possibility or is something that's on the table and something that they have explored already. That's probably going to be where they go for the second one, and maybe Gary will visit an alternate timeline where, you know, they can get like a leg up on the Lord Commander or something, or where, you know, he can get another mooncake and like and use that mooncake to destroy them while he has the other mooncake. I don't know. Have like a mooncakeception thing going. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure, time travel will be a thing.
Yeah. Well, you know, we saw the Earth get pulled in by a gigantic arm.
Yeah, that's right.
So I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of interdimensionality, a lot of interdimensional travel, and seeing just like kooky, crazy things from the mind of Owen Rogers, because literally anything can be in an alternate dimension. So,
the Gary with the great, beautiful mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
Feels so good. I wish it could be a crumb so I could get caught in my mustache. Oh my god.
So I think there's going to be a lot more of that, because it's a mental. It could be a good mental playground for them.
Yeah. It seems like something that they could have explored more, and that maybe they want to explore.
Yeah,
more.
Just get real absurd with their turds. Okay, anyway,
Cookie Head Gary. Hi,
tiny Gary. Hey, little Gary.
Yeah, that was all good.
But yeah, I think, man, I don't really know where they're going to go forward, like with the season. Besides, maybe some of that absurdity stuff. But I don't know if it's going to be like to rescue the Earth, or if like Quinn has died, or like what is like. I don't think Quinn is. I mean, she like blew up with a bomb, but because she went like in the like vortex or whatever, I don't know what that means.
She went into final space with all the Titans.
I don't know like what that means.
There are an incredibly large amount of loose ends, I think, that could all be
explored.
Yeah,
I think one thing I think for sure we're going to see more of is Gary's dad, John. I think they're going to find a way to explore more of his character.
That was super emotional too, because it's like he had to experience his dad dying once, but he wasn't even there. He just like heard about it. Like, but then like he had to be there and experience it. Like that was that. Yeah, like that really messed me up too. I was like, dude, that sucks, man. Sorry, spoiler alert. Quinn dies at the end, supposedly.
But we already spoiled.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert video. So
so.
Double spoiler alert.
We also talked about a lot of other things, and also like we also talked about Avocado dying too. So I guess whatever. But So I think the interdimensional stuff I think would make sense, because you could get like alternate realities of like different people and stuff. So maybe they can play around with that. Maybe that'd be a fun thing.
Who knows? Maybe
because at the very end, you see Gary like floating in space, and then a light comes down, shines down on him, and then it just cuts. So we don't know what that is. That could be a ship. That could be like a portal to another dimension opening up. But we don't know. So there's a lot of things they can explore.
Yep.
And maybe like the Titans are going to be the new threat instead of Lord Commander, because Lord Commander is like on his last legs.
Right.
I think he died.
I think he only had 2 legs to start with.
Well, I think he died. I think the Titan, when the Titan grabbed, I think he died with that.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think really unique, very special for like the first season of a show, like any show.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just thinking about when Gary he goes onto the ship, back in time with his dad and Lord Commander Jack, and he's like, no, this guy's going to turn into a bad guy. And he's like, what, Jack? He's like, yeah, he is. All right, well, let's beat the crap out of him. And they just beat him because time is paused except for Gary
and his dad. Yeah.
And so while Jack is there, like at a console, they just beat the living crap out of him. And so when it starts up again, he's like, ow!
Ow! There's just another line too where his dad is just like, no, I trust him. He's been my co-pilot for 29 years. But if you say he's evil, I believe you.
Yeah, that was one of the things where the pacing may have been off. But
I love it.
but at the same time, that's still very Olin Rogers.
Oh, totally, yeah.
He's like, he's been my best friend for 29 years, but, if you say so. It's like...
Because you're my son, so...
Anyway.
You're my son. You're my son, supposedly.
So my rambling, wandering mind totally led us off track. Anyway,
that's okay.
No, I think
that's a good thing. I also just want to say one more thing. Again, shout out to Owen Rogers. I don't know if you'll hear this or whatever, but just thank you so much for just being you and not letting studio involvement change your vision on what this wanted to be. Because I hope this is exactly what you wanted it to be, and because we loved it and we know a lot of other people loved it. So just keep doing you, man. You're killing it out there, dude.
Yeah, way to live your dream and go for it.
Yeah, man.
And just you've been entertaining us for years, and it's just great.
So this is just us being fans right now. So we really just appreciate you and just what you did and how much work you put into it. We appreciate it and we recognize that. So we can't wait for the second season, dude. So
yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Follow us on Twitter at Nerdin' Out. Also follow us on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Or send us an email at nerdandoutpodcast@gmail.com
with any questions or suggestions for future episodes and stuff like that.
We're on iTunes.
And remember, iTunes. And also, when you email us, make sure to put in the subject line "Flavor Blasted" so we know that it's you.
We just like the word flavor blasted.
That's just the thing now. We have to accept it. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's nice having you on.
I didn't have it, your mom did, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, good point.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Do you guys ever think about using little kid words in normal conversation and seeing how people react?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's I think it's Andy in the office. He does that. He's like, "Oh, it's just Whittle me doing," and then I forget who it is, but there's one of the other characters that's furious at him. It's just like, "Stop talking like a baby! It's so annoying."
Yeah,
and then he replies with.
I mean, also being a grown man, don't ever use the word tummy. If I'm out with my guy friends and it's like, "Oh, dude, my tummy hurts," I'm like, leave. You're not a man anymore.
If you were to go say I did you guys watch that game on Saturday? Yeah, my mommy told me about it, and she said that it was.
I use mommy as a joking term with my mom. I don't actually call her that. Are you kidding me? That's right. So no.
The thing is, when you have a 2-year-old daughter, you accidentally say, "Hey man, I gotta go to the potty." Sometimes, it just happens.
Oh man, I can't eat that. I get boo boo belly.
Right. These are the things that happen when you have a toddler in your house.
Dude,
but you don't accidentally say whittle or anything, do you? For little?
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
I don't. I
do
do
too far.
Do you find yourself doing baby talk with other things that aren't your baby?
No.
No. Okay.
Not non-things like people,
no,
grown men.
Plants.
Okay, good.
Grown men. No.
Yeah.
None of those things.
Or do you find yourself negotiating with things like you would, Nora? Look, if you just work for me, you're talking to the vacuum cleaner or something. Look, if you just work for me, then I'll let you.
Yeah, actually, I probably do the opposite. I probably treat Nora and try to convince her the same way I would convince a grown person. No, look, I understand. That's not how it works. It doesn't make sense. And she's just like, "What, Daddy?"
It's like, no, this square block does go in this circle block. It's like, no, that's not how shapes work, honey. I don't think you understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I love toddlers and I love babies, but I know I'm not ready to be a dad yet.
Yeah.
I know like I wouldn't have the patience for that.
Right. And you got to build up to it, but at some point you just got to dive in because you're never going to be 100% ready until you do that thing.
That's fair.
But yeah, you know, it'll take time to wrap your head around the idea, like that you can actually do it.
Yeah. When I get there, that'll be fun. That'll be a fun day.